XRP fell by 7.9% yesterday, in line with some of our expectations on those smaller timeframes. In today's video, I am going to be jumping into the technical analysis on XRP, reviewing the price action, where it is, and where I think it's likely to be going next on the 1 hour and 1 day timeframes. As I get into today's video, if you do find it useful and informative, smash that like button. If you're new, subscribe, and let's jump right down into the charts. So here we have XRP paired up with USDT. We're on the 1 hour Binance chart. And yesterday, we were talking about this idea, finding resistance on that 200 EMA with that death cross that we just saw here on the 50 SMA, 50 EMA, and 200 EMA on the 1 hour time frame. Now, here you can see that we did get this closed candle above the 200 EMA. And like I said yesterday, I wouldn't have been surprised if we got this kind of fake out where we basically grab all the liquidity out of the market before dumping down. And this is something that we saw on Bitcoin and something that we've seen right here on XRP. And again, we saw no two closed candles green above that 200 EMA. So this would have been a signal to tell me that the second candle here that we saw at the 1800 UTC was going to be a bearish candle. It closed lower than the 200 EMA. And at 1900 on that closed position would have been where we would have targeted a short position, stop loss higher than a previous swing high. And I personally would have just targeted out 1.5 in the risk reward ratio, or this previous area of support coming down into this yellow range actually would have been approximately 1.68 risk reward ratio, which means $1.86 for every $1 of risk. Obviously, different strategies, different people, but that's how I would have approached it. And you could see that this would have been a very profitable trade if we just put a trailing stop in and just kind of kept lowering our take profit as we kind of continue this move to the downside. But for the most part, you can see it would have been a fantastic trade shorting XRP during this area of rejection. Now, of course, the price action looks very, very different. And unfortunately, we've had major slippage to the downside. What we want to do is we want to figure out the kind of damage that is here and whether it is going to be long-term damage or whether or not we are going to, see some kind of recovery. So at the moment, our swing low comes in at 55.28 cents. And this move to the upside is still finding resistance right up here at 57.03 to 57.23. This was a previous area of resistance that I was hoping to turn into support, but it looks like we just crashed all the way through it and it is still acting as resistance. So the price action on XRP is going to be very, very interesting. Two areas of resistance now, the 57.03 to 57.23 to that slightly higher range at 57.61 to 57.95. Now in here, we can see that we have a very large potential move to the upside, but got to get past those resistances. You can see 57.75 to 58.17. This particular range would be our typical kind of range of retracement, and retracement to the upside this is, before we kind of continue this move to the downside. However, I think that's going to be quite a tough challenge for XRP to go ahead and do. Now, typically, if we were to think about this move to the downside, we would be looking more for the relief rally on XRP to be slightly different. Specifically, if we were to find a kind of 50 to 38.2% retracement here, which happens to coincide right in this little pocket of resistance. Okay, so you can see 57.05 right in here to that 50% level at 57.61. Now, I know this sounds like a lot of different numbers, lots of different things, kind of confusing, and can be, quite daunting to kind of be thinking, well, what on earth is going to happen here with XRP's price action? Well, I think ultimately there's a lot of resistance, right? And that's going to be the big problem for XRP's price action. 57.03 to 57.23 is a historical area of resistance. The typical retracement of this kind of what I would expect to be a wave 4 would be 57.04 to 57.6. Okay, so again, more resistance there. Another pocket of historical resistance sitting at 57.61 to 57.95. And then we have that kind of idea of a three-wave typical movement at 57.75 to 58.17. So it's going to be really, really challenging for XRP to really get up there, okay? And so it's going to be unlikely that we're going to break out of a bearish structure for XRP here, and we're likely to see a relief rally and just more room to the downside. What we need to do, though, is we need to figure out where we sit within our structures, because it's possible that maybe we finished a 5-wave move, and we do see this little push higher in order to complete a 3-wave correction before dropping down further. So we're going to drop to a 15-minute time frame. And in here, you can see, yeah, we probably have completed through a 5-wave movement by the looks of it. I'm going to take it to a 5-minute just to really kind of be sure. You can see right here, little run to the upside, pull to the downside. This comes in line with this little move right in here. So I think for the most part, it's very possible that we have completed that, but also it's important to note that we're still coming up against resistances. So on this 5-minute time frame, you can really see resistance coming in at that 56.99. It's very, very tough for XRP's price action. So if I bring this back to our hourly chart, the expectation is going to be find resistance, find confirmed rejection, and then basically go short on XRP. That's going to be the approach that I'm going to have here when it comes to XRP's price action. At the moment, you can see lots of resistance right where we are and in this upper area, but I don't think we have confirmation yet. What we're looking for, although we've got some dojo candles, or at least the appearance of some dojo candles here, is an undecided market. Are we going to rally up higher? Are we going to go drop down lower? And that's kind of yet to be decided. From our stochastic RSIs, we have plenty of room to the upside. So momentum is potentially supporting XRP's price action to the upside, probably causing more confusion within the trading community. From our divergence indicator, we are also in an oversold area, a bearish area for the longer term RSI. Again, this is not the strongest place to be because we haven't broken above 30 level, which would be a reversal from the lows that we have seen at 21. So we're still in a difficult area, but this is actually not a bad place to be on the bigger time frame stuff, but it's an interesting one to see here on the hourly. Expect some volatility, and like I've been saying for the last little while, ultimately we should expect the unexpected. From our volume profiles, you can see weakness. We're pushing the price up higher here, but whilst we're doing that, the volumes are dropping here. This shows that there's not a huge appetite for buying into this dip, which is strange because, we often say buy the dip, and I do think XRPs are still at these prices, but it is what it is. So I'm looking for rejection off these resistances. I'm looking to go short. Hypothetically, if we get that rejection soon, then we would look to kind of go short at approximately that. Let's choose 57.16, just a number. We'd put stop loss above that previous swing low that we saw at approximately 58.1, and we would target at least a 1.5 risk reward ratio. But if we just double tap on the 55.28 swing low, it's a 2 risk reward ratio, $2 of profit for every $1 of risk. So it's looking good, and I'm not too concerned about this dip in the market. It's kind of been in line with our expectations. Let's roll this up into a daily, because this is where things really start to come together, because we've been talking about coming down to 51 to 52 cent, or more specifically this range of 50.31 to 52.27. This particular range is where we're looking. Now at the moment on our daily time frame, we found support on that 50 EMA, although we've wicked down close to the 200 EMA at the moment. Resistances are there, so we want to be a little bit cautious of that, and anything lower than 54.52 is going to basically complete our structure, but I still expect us to move down a little bit more. This is obviously in line with our expectations of this bullish wedge pattern that we find ourselves in, right? This triangular wedge pattern, and looking for a breakout towards 75 cents. As I've been talking about for a little while now, and on pretty much most daily videos that I've been putting out for XRP, I've been talking about this idea that although we are in a bullish macro structured move to the upside, profits are likely to be taken, and we're likely to see a cooling off towards 51 to 53 cents. This is essentially the kind of reset while still being in that bullish pattern. It's allowing us to see continued movements to the upside. You can't always just continuously move up to the upside. You have to see these kind of dips in the market. So we've been talking about this idea of 75, 85 cent breakout situation for XRP, which I do think is still very much on the horizon, but it's going to take some time to get there. And we are, of course, looking for this move down towards that kind of 50, 54 cent, that kind of 51, 52 cent range. And that is because we need to see that kind of get hit in order to kind of complete its structures. But again, everything is kind of just running as expected. There's nothing terribly too unusual going on with its price action. Now, of course, there's a lot of people kind of speculating on September, now going to rename September. And that's because obviously we know that there's going to be a Federal Reserve pivot at this point. There's pretty much a guarantee. I think there's a low probability that they're not going to reduce their interest rates. Now, historically, that has a negative price action on the stock market and on the crypto market. And of course, you take a look at all of the historical interest rate cuts and hikes and all that kind of stuff. We've been through it before. And I think this time is slightly different, but I don't think we're going to be fully protected by it. And what I mean by that is we've seen the ECB, we've seen the Bank of England already cut their interest rates. The US Fed, they're a little bit laggy behind, but that's because they didn't do what they needed to do back in 2022. Instead of doing the 0.5s that you saw the ECB and you saw the Bank of England doing, they did 0.25s, and they just kind of stalled and kicked the can further down the road. So they're lagging behind. So September could be an interest rate cut, but that's also given everybody a bit of a heads up. And historically, we already know, taking a look at the data, that the markets react negatively to that. So a lot of people have been potentially trying to price it in. I don't think they'll price it in 100% perfectly, but they will price it in to a degree, meaning that we are likely to see a bit of a retracement, but it's not going to be that damning movements that we've seen many other times in the past. I could be wrong on that, of course, but looking at the data, it looks like we've seen big resets ahead of the Federal Reserve pivot. So we're looking for Bitcoin to tap down to 44K when the Fed pivot, or by the time the Fed pivot, and that's going to be a massive reset for all of crypto because many of the altcoins will bleed out as well. Bitcoin and XRP are obviously really interesting assets, with XRP holding up incredibly well in comparison, and we are still looking for this breakout. The only question I have is, do we get this breakout before the Fed pivot, or do we have to have it after the Fed pivot? That's the only question I don't know. You guys can let me know in the comments where you sit with that one. Do you think we're going to see a Federal Reserve pivot before the kind of 75-85 cents, or do you think we'll see 75 to 85 cent rally on XRP before we actually have a Federal Reserve pivot? Let me know in the comments below, or join us in our free Discord server and we can continue the conversations there. That's going to wrap up today's video, guys, but don't forget to check out my second channel where I go through the Cardano technical analysis every single day.